G'day legends, welcome back to Always All-Wheel Drive. It has been a hot minute. Now the topic of today's discussion is these bad boys. You would have seen this on the socials. Now, picture this. You're following all these build series of other YouTubers and they all have these really cool spotlights. So you want to grab that for your own car. You hop online and you see that you're going to spend 800 Australian dollars for a pair of them. And if you want the really cool Baja rally style spotters, you're looking at KC over 3,000 USD. And I was thinking, man, I just want my car to look good. I don't want to give away my firstborn to afford a pair of spotties. So that got me thinking. If you browse YouTube, I noticed that there's a couple of blokes who are doing some cool things with Alibaba wheels. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I give this whole Alibaba a crack? And can you deck out your all-wheel drive or off-roader for pennies on the pound? And is it actually any good? So I want to take you through what it's like to go through Alibaba, order something, and actually mount it onto the Ford Territory. Yes, the Territory is back. I'm so happy to finally have it back featuring on the channel. It's kind of become my daily driver now while some big things are in the works on the X5. So stick around while I show you how you can deck out your car for next to nothing. Let's go. So what is it like to actually buy something from Alibaba? So it's a bit of a process. You make an account on the website, that's not really too hard. Then you find what you like. Now you notice that on a lot of listings they say a minimum order of 1, a minimum order of 5, 10, because it's more for wholesalers to get products to sell into the country. So what you want to find is a listing that has a minimum order of 1, because that's more of a direct order. So you make your account, you find what you like, you then request interest. You don't buy it, you request interest in the product. And this is where it's a bit different from eBay and things like that. Once you put interest in the product, it means that you, as an end customer, want the particular product, but you're also going to have a whole bunch of other people all messaging you saying, hey, I can also sell you this, I can sell you this, because they think you're a business. So you do that, you find the spotlights you like, then you have a conversation with the supplier. As you can see, the suppliers can be very friendly. Hey, all I'm going to say is that you're not going to get this level of service at Anaconda or BCFA. So anyway, once you go through all that, you make your payments and then they ship everything out to you. So in a nutshell, you find what you like, you place a expression of interest, they reach out to you, you pay an invoice, they ship the goods and away you go. Now, this isn't the first time I've done this. I actually did it for the X5. That was more my trial run of this whole thing, and I liked it that much that I actually decided to deck out the Territory. So once you've gone through all that, what do you get? Let's unbox it. So you receive the box. Now I have opened this prior to make sure I have actually received spotties and not bits of a Soviet tank. Undo, open up. Now what do we have here? Oh, have a go at that. So what I did is order 2 7-inch DRL spotlights. And this is how it comes. It's actually not too bad, all the packaging. It's all very well packaged. The only thing you don't receive is instructions, but you can request that online with your very nice counterpart over in China. So as you can see, here is one of the spotlights. Look at that. Oh yeah. You've got your adjusters there. You've got a vent hole there too. You can also undo this if you want. Now, I actually have a loom for this in the Territory, but you need 3 wires because of the DRLs, and I'll get into that in a bit. So this is spotlight that you get, very, very nice. I also requested the covers too, to cover them up and to protect them as well. So the material is not too bad. That just clips on like that as so. Now you also get the wiring loom too, and this is going to be incredibly important. So I've actually not opened this, so I'm very interested to see what we get as a part of the wiring loom. So this should ideally have everything that you need to hook up to your vehicle. All right, I think this is a bit easier to go through what you get in the wiring loom. We're going to start from the front where the lights plug in. As you can see, we've got your 2 Deutsch plugs, your positive, negative, and your DRLs, presumably. That goes into the rest of the loom there. You actually have a positive cable here. Now, my X5 actually has this, but in white, and that actually controls the DRLs. So I suspect this could be the DRLs, but we'll find that out once we do the fitment. Put that away. You actually look to also have a remote control as well, which is pretty cool. So it looks like you can actually turn this on and off independently if you wish. And you do get a remote, and you can actually customize this with a wireless one if you wish to disconnect that. As we move back, you have your absolutely massive relay. Oh, sheesh, look at the size of that bad boy. And then you've got your positive and negative, and this is what goes onto your wiring on the battery. So more or less, this is what you get in the kit. Now, I did notice we had a few extra things too. couple of bolts, and this is what actually mounts the spotlight underneath. As you can see here, that goes underneath, and then that's more or less what you get. So the cost of this wasn't too bad. This cost me, including express shipping, around 400 Australian dollars. So now that we've got the kit, we understand what we have. The next step is to actually do the fitment into the vehicle. So let's get stuck into that. All right, done. How good do they look? So I've just finished wiring everything up. I didn't actually film the whole process because it actually took a long time to rip out the old loom, and it was absolutely chockers of cape, mud and dust. So what I'm gonna do now is actually walk you through exactly how I linked everything up into my Ford territory and how you can try and extrapolate this onto your own rig. Let's get stuck into it. Okay, so how did I actually wire all this up into the Ford territory? I start with the front. These two wires go into the two Deutsch plugs I mentioned in my unboxing earlier. I tried to run that neatly along the main wiring loom that goes across the Ford territory. Then I put it behind the radiator and the air condenser, and there's a whole bunch of like a good 2 meters of wiring. I wrap that all neatly and nicely with zip ties. That tucks in front of the driver's side headlight and the battery, so that's all out of the way. That goes into two relays. This is where it gets interesting. You actually have two positives and one negative. So to start with the negative, I put the negative right here onto the negative of the battery. Then with the positive, I actually ran the main LED positive into the fuse box here because there is a connector. Now, what is the other positive used for? It's actually used for the daytime running lights. And that switch isn't actually from here, it's actually all the way into the cabin. So what I did, I actually crimped and spliced a ring terminal and put it onto the main positive of the battery because I couldn't find a big one that goes into there. So in a nutshell, I've got my DRL positive on the positive of the battery. I've got my main positive actually coming from the fuse box. And then I've got my negative going to my negative on the battery. Now, how did I put this into the vehicle? Well, this is where it gets a bit interesting. So this is your switch cable. So this is your switch cable. I ran that around behind the fuse box under here so that it doesn't get to temperature. Back here, that's also my positive DRL as I was mentioning before. Then I put it through this chassis gap over here and then into here. So it's quite hard to see, but basically you remove the kick panel here and then you can actually thread through the cable connector. I then plugged in this cable connector into the switch over here. And then with this, I can turn on the DRLs, turn off, turn on the main lights, turn off, or do both of them as well. Now, I'm just going to put a small disclaimer here that in some jurisdictions around the world, including Australia, the spotlight LEDs are only meant to technically come on if you put your high beams on. They're not meant to be independently controlled. So for your purposes, you, the viewer, I'm not a mechanic, install this at your own risk. I recommend this only being used for off-road use or camp use only. And to help with that, in my use case, I actually block off the lights in day-to-day driving because they are really used for camp use. And you can actually grab a pair of these nice spotty covers. Now these are really easy. You just grab one of these, clip them on, and they just look pretty good as well. So you can protect your spotlights and only use them in the areas where you're meant to use them. So there you go. I still can't get over how good these lights look. Like, it really does help modernize the vehicle, and for a fraction of the price of what you're paying for a very premium light anywhere here in Australia. So now that we've gone through what they are, how to mount them, how to use them, we've got to adjust them. So I want to try and maneuver myself around the car park, and I'm going to show you guys how bright these LEDs really are. Now, as we can see, it's pointing to the top right, and we don't want that. Now, the kit is actually really handy includes an Allen key that you can actually loosen and adjust your spotties to get that nice throw and pitch that you really want out of spotlights. So I'm pretty happy with that right now. I could go under and adjust a bit more left and right, but I'll do that a bit later. So I'm quite happy it's a lot more lower, more of an even spread now. So with that, I'm going to tighten it, and again, really easy. It comes in the included kit. You just try and make sure it doesn't move too much when you do the adjustment. Look at that. Honestly, not bad at all for what you pay. But yeah, still trying to get over how much this really modernized the look and feel of your old rigs. So that in a nutshell is how you fit a couple of cheap Alibaba spotters to your cheap rig. Now, do you have a couple of things that I've got to do on the old Canyon Arrow? Got some indicators, refresh the bull bar, and a couple of other things. So thank you so much for sticking around for this long. Really appreciate all the support. Hopefully we can pump out a few more videos this year. It has just been a very hectic start to the year, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. Of course, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. And we also have a website, alwaysallwheeldrive.com. I will start putting a bit more things on there, but we do have a couple of cool, funky stubby holders. So grab yourself a limited edition. It's got this territory and his territory from Territory Offroad. It's kind of celebrate a bit of a collab. So get up to the website. It has been a long day, and hopefully I'll catch you guys next time.